So I'd like to introduce Earl Hackett. He's presented before. He's a terrific modeler, and welcome to the show, Earl. You're normally in the background. It's great to have you up front and presenting. So,
There we go. Now I can speak.
Phil, yeah,
Phil, go ahead, fire up the first one. This is years ago, about 30 years ago. Well, maybe
25.
2000, about 2000. So I don't remember exactly, but I was on business trips over to the UK to the University of Manchester to do some research for DuPont. These trips would take 2 weeks. I'd be over there for 2 weeks at a time, maybe 3 times a year. And I got tired of sitting in my hotel room looking at the TV that had really crappy television shows. And my wife suggested I find some model railroaders. So I did. I contacted the Scale 4 Society over there and wound up being introduced to a gentleman by the name of John Yates. And we became very good friends. And I've been back and forth they've visited us, we visited there. But the thing that really impressed me was I went to the club, the Manchester Model Railroad Club. They had a layout there. It was N scale, but it was to fine scale standards. And I have never seen anything like that. Go ahead, go to the Cheadle slide. It's really changed the way I view the hobby. What they did was to take a section in this is in the Lakes District of England. They took a little section of track. It went from if you look at the little red flag at the lower right corner, that is a tunnel, tunnel. All right, tunnel. It came across, went across the viaduct, and then proceeded along the ridge line there. And they moved a few of the towns around a little bit to make it work. They took an actual site and modeled it to the best of their ability. And that changed the way I looked at model railroads. I mentioned there was a viaduct there. On the right hand side, on the right hand of the viaduct, goes through those trees and it goes into the tunnel. And just to show you, it's now a hiking trail, and it's for a lot of people there, so I guess it's a pretty popular hiking trail. I'll go ahead to the next one.
I'm not sure what that is.
This is.
Yes, I've fond memories of Cheadle. It's a lovely little village in the heart of the Derbyshire Peak District. I got to know it well when the railway modernisation plan, known to most people as the Beeching Cuts, were underway in the 1960s. That was just before I retired. Although the line was on the list for closure, at the time Cheadle had become quite a busy place. The main line from Manchester to Derby was being upgraded, and a lot of traffic was sent over this secondary route, even though there was only a single track between the stations. The result was that the line had to be kept open 24 hours a day, and I was drafted in as a relief signalman to help out old Bert Stevens, the regular bobby. In those days, of course, we had proper summers. The sun rose early in the morning and shone continuously almost till bedtime. My favourite shift, without a doubt, was the early morning one that started at 6. The first train I had to deal with was the 6:35 all stations to Derby, and it acted like an alarm clock for many of the villagers. Usually there aren't many passengers for this first train, but this morning it looks as if Colonel Thompson is making a very early start again for a day in town. For Matt Kirtley at the village stores, the first train heralds the start of his day, and his son Jimmy is often sent up to the station for the morning papers. These will have been printed in Manchester, and are distributed overnight throughout the country by the railways. Matt's little shop is the only one in the village, and although it's small, it manages to stock most of the things that we need from day to day. Once the DMU is gone, we normally have an hour or so before the next scheduled passenger service. But of course, with the diversions, we have to handle quite a few extras like this load of iron ore. It's come from the mines in the East Midlands, and it's bound for the steelworks in Manchester. Would have been loaded last thing last night, and we try to give it a clear road if at all possible, because restarting a heavy load like this is no joke, even with a banking engine to help. A long delay here would mean they'd be late clearing the section, and that could cause all the subsequent workings, including the passengers, to run late for most of the morning. Today they're going well though, and once through the station it's mostly downhill, so the banker can drop off and return to Roseley to wait for the next heavy freight needing its assistance.
Now remember, this is N scale. Check out the signals.
"7:30, and the early morning commuter trains from Derby and Manchester both arrive about now, so the station becomes a fair hive of activity until we get them on their way again. We all try to make sure they're not delayed, because apart from our pride in the job, we haven't that much time before the next train is due, and that will be the Blue Pullman.
Okay. That's a clip that I downloaded. You can find it. It's worth watching the whole thing. The goes on. It's about a 15-minute film. It was filmed in 16 millimeter, and then converted to digital. It's unfortunate we didn't have better video equipment back in those days, but that's what we have. Anyway, it changed the way I look at model railroading. I've always built, freelance layouts, and Phil, can you skip back up to one slide? Yeah, there we are. On this layout. Remember, this is N scale, fine scale standards. They had one of these things. This is an outside double slip switch. Where we have all the ones that I've seen in North America are what they call inside double slip switches. The track work is, and they actually use these bullnosed rails rather than the if you look at them, the bottom, they're bullnosed rails. They sit in these saddles, and they modeled it with the saddles. Just I don't. It was an incredible thing. You had to see it in person to believe what you were looking at. Okay, Phil, press on. So I came home and I said, I really like this concept. This is really slick. And I remembered from when I was a little kid, the Wilmington waterfront. And here, it was an incredible jumble of tracks. You had the Pennsylvania Station on the right hand side. And that's still in use in Amtrak today. It goes up and it was built on a viaduct. Now, to the inside of that curve were 4 switch leads, 2 for the Pennsylvania, which were the original main line, and which were abandoned once the railroad was the viaduct was finished. And you also had service from the B&O and the Reading, all coming in there to service all these warehouses. Every building in that place had direct rail service. The trackage was incredibly complicated. That on the to the left side, you see that roundhouse. That is not a roundhouse as we think of them. That is a passenger car manufacturing facility. And that had direct rail access, obviously. Okay, so this is what I wanted to model. And I decided, okay, I'm going to start with the Pennsylvania Station. And this is as far as I got. This is the shell. I still had to do the glass canopy out front. I was working on that. I had the canopies on the station platforms. I was about maybe a third of the way through constructing this thing. And it took a year, and I don't know how many pounds of silicone rubber because I was making castings to produce all this stuff. And I finally realized that this isn't going to work. I'm not going to be able to do it. So I said, okay, I quit. I'm going to go back to modeling my favorite layouts, my favorite railroads. You know, the Appalachian coal haulers, specifically the C&O. I always loved the C&O. The cat was really nice. I liked it. It was a cute kitten. So anyway, that's the one I decided I've always followed as sort of a prototype. This shows the waterfront today. All the buildings have been knocked down. Everything is gone except for the station, of course, which is in the cyan colored area. And if you look just to the left of that area, the little round thing, that is the original B&O passenger station, built in 1880 or so. It's been refurbished and it's now I believe it's a real estate office. And there's 1 or 2 other warehouses that still exist. They've been converted to a restaurant and office buildings, but everything else is in bulldoze. It's gone. And there's no documentation. I couldn't go back and find anything about it. It's all lost to history. I went back to modeling the C&O, and along comes 3D printing. And I was modeling a section of the C&O from Ronsford, West Virginia to a cabin. The first building I tried in 3D printing was the station at Ronsford. And this was done by Shapeways. I sent in the drawings, of course, and they printed it for me. And I was never impressed with the quality of the work that came out of those guys. It was pretty rough. And this was the best they had. But anyway, I managed to get a reasonably good model out of it. But I was really not impressed. And the problem was that here I am modeling, I'm trying to model 40 or 50 miles, 20 or 30 miles of track and shoving into my basement. And it was just, I still wanted to do what I saw in England, where they took a section of track and modeled it exactly as it existed. I was so impressed with 3D printing, I bought a little 3D printer, a little Elegoo Mars, the first version. And with that, I started building signals. I was still building the grade, the Brunsford to A cabin section, but it required signals, and I started to build signals. And here we have a signal mass in a mold. And the mold, I actually 3D printed the molds. You pour the resin into the lower cavity, it would flow along that channel, work its way up, and you would take all the wires and they would be concealed inside the mast. So you don't have any wires sticking out that look ugly to me. These are the final products. And I use whatever technique is best for the particular job. The cantilevers themselves are 3D printed. The signal masts are cast in epoxy from 3D printed molds. And the wires snake their way down. Well, you can't see them, so they go there snaking their way down underneath that walkway. The handlebar, the ladders, maintenance platforms, all that is etched brass from PPD products, PPD etching in Argyll, Scotland. If you want any etched brass, they're the best there is. There isn't anybody else that can do what they do, and they're really good to work with. So here's one of them installed on my layout. As I said, this was this section here was the first last slide. Those were the distance signals for this interlocking. This was fully interlocked. We had a double track signaled in both directions. There was a coal mine to the left and a branch line to the right from this view. And we actually was fully interlocked. Using Armstrong levers, they would lock if you weren't supposed to move them. So it was an interesting exercise in model building. But I still wanted to go back and build an exact replica of a real section of railroad, because it looks different. It has a different feel. And I couldn't. I'm 80 years old. I don't have years to go out and research new places like Quinnamont and St. Albans and stuff that are also quite interesting. I needed something that was ready to go. All the research is done. All I have to do is build it. And that is Thurmond, West Virginia. It's also a really classical piece of railroad. The top image here is the actual C&O valuation plan. Everything that they had there, they were getting it back from the government. They had to document everything that they had so they get paid for it. Then I took this, shrunk it to HO scale, and it fits very nicely along one wall of my basement. And the lower section shows the actual track plan. The blue switches are number 10s or 12s. The red ones are number 7s or 6s. And some of them, I don't know what they are, like the one here going to the bridge on the very lower left where it's curving out and ends. That is the lead to the bridge across the New River. And I don't know what that is. It's all hand built for the purpose built. And this is where I am right now. I finished laying all the track. All the track is hand laid. Right now, the big job is to put in the scenery, which is basically a hillside and some buildings. The scenery is pretty simple. It's a hillside with trees. Another view shows this shows the river. The river is fairly wide. The bridge is it's a Warren truss with several sections of girder construction on it. Total length is about 6 feet. And it goes over to what they call Southside Yard, which is where they stored all the empty hopper cars. So when you get a call for a job to a mill, a mine, you had to go across the river, pick up your hopper cars, drag them back over, build your train, and off you went. So it's a lot of operation. It's not like the usual operation you see on a model railroad where we're going to switch cars. So we're going to put this one to that spot. that drives me crazy. I don't enjoy that at all. I want to run stuff, and this allows me to do operation and actually run trains, very much like they showed in that clip. These are some of the buildings that I've built. This was I've been building the buildings. I can't install them until I get some of the scenery in the background out of the way. But here you see the bunkhouse. This was for train crews that were they were going to be overnight. That's the model that I built. These are 3D printed models. In this case, everything there is 3D printed. Go to the next one, Steve, Phil. This is the only photo I have of the freight house from across the river. So this is the side you'd actually see on the layout. So this is the only one photograph I have to show what it looked like. And this is the model that came from it. The upper sections, the building itself is 3D printed. The trestle work underneath is poplar. I make my own strip wood. So I added a little detail to the office on the building. The desk there is a model of the desk that I'm sitting at right now. And the chair is a model of the chair I'm sitting in. So I sort of enjoy that. Okay. Now this one here is the Kincaid building. It was a restaurant, lawyer's office, and dry goods store. Stone construction. This is a color photograph of it as it is today. That's the model. It was an interesting challenge to build the thing because every one of those stone blocks is unique. And well, I shouldn't say that. There's 100 unique stone blocks, and they're thrown in randomly so you don't see any patterns of surface. But anyway, that was an interesting challenge. So I'm not going to go into that. So anyway, there you go. That's what I'm doing right now. Thank you. Any questions?
Earl, I have a question.
Shoot.
Tell us how you did those blocks on those stone blocks.
Oh,
I mean, are they individually
I'll give you a very, very, very short description, and you may not understand some of the language, some of the words, the technique. I went to a site that had they make surfaces for whatever you want to use them for, and they have sample surfaces which are relatively small. They were you get about 100 blocks out of one of these samples, and what they were was a height gauge, a height that depending on it was black and white, depending on the color, the intensity, they'd be either at a very low level or a very high level. The high level was very lightweight, and the low level would be dark. So you could see a basically a topographical view. In the program I use, I can throw that in there, and I can with some difficulty, create a mesh that follows that contour. So I cut out 100 blocks, individual blocks, made meshes for all 100 of them, shrunk it. And these things were big. They were like 5-6 foot blocks. Shrunk them down to HO scale to make them size that I needed, and then put them together one by one. I'm insane. I'm putting these things together, building this little wall, and then unifying it and printing it. But it was what I wanted. I wanted to have the block go around the corner and be continuous.
Yeah, right.
That's why I did it, because otherwise it just doesn't look right.
How those real blocks are made is it's called a rock face, and it's a very wide chisel, 4 to 6 inches wide, and they hammer the front of that around the perimeter.
Right.
That's called a rock face. Anyway.
Yeah, 4 sides are precision.
Yeah.
The front is whatever comes out. But on the corners, I wanted that edge, that,
Yeah,
that
the
rounded
wrapper.
edge, wrap
Yeah.
around it, and because it's very prominent. It's
Yeah.
one of the things you really see when you look at it.
No, I've been to Thurmond. I know what you're talking about. Do we have
Earl,
any?
I have one question.
Sure.
Yeah.
You said you cut your own material in the wood. What are you using to cut it with?
Well, unfortunately, I have a thickness sander. Well, I have a bandsaw first,
Mm-hmm.
and I use I take 3/4 inch poplar. I get at the hardware store, lumber store.
Okay.
Strip that down, cut that down to a fairly thin level. Then I have a thickness sander from Model Machines, and unfortunately, the gentleman who produced these machines died a few years ago, and they're no longer available. But I run it through the thickness that to get a
An even
smooth out, to
finish.
get good, to get the precise thickness I want.
Yep.
Getting both sides sanded, and then
Thank you.
I built a gang saw that I put on my radial arm saw. I have 5 blades that I put on there. They're metal splitting blades, and I run it through there so I get 5 strips out of each piece.
Wow.
And
That's
then
pretty good.
that goes back to the bandsaw or another saw, and I just slice off lengths that I want.
Very good.
and when I'm building all my ties, I make all my own ties the
Yep.
same way.
Mhm.
And so I take a shop vac, I clean it out really nice, shake it all out. I put that near where the pieces are going to come flying off the bandsaw. I just zip. I stack up a 5x5 array of these things, and every pass is 25 of these things goes sucked into the shop vac.
Half goes out and half stays in.
And so, yeah, on a weekend, I'll do this in a mass production. I'll make 20 or 30,000 of these things,
Yeah.
ties in a weekend.
Okay.
Thanks, Earl.